Hey everybody, Rudy here. There's a little thing I want to get into real quick, which is about, I had a very simple, kind of a weird thought came into my mind of whether or not cats were mentioned in the Bible. And the short answer is no. And just look up the Wikipedia article on the list of animals in the Bible. Domestic cats are not mentioned in the Protestant Bible, but they are mentioned in a letter of Jeremiah verse 21. Cats were very familiar to ancient Egyptians, Assyrians, Babylonians, and ancient Greeks and Romans even before their conquest of Egypt. So it is likely they would have been familiar to the ancient Hebrews, making their omission from the Bible unusual. Other members of the cat family mentioned in the Bible, namely lions, leopards, and questionably tigers, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, mentioned in Isaiah 34:14 is translated to wild cats. And some new translations of the Bible, such as the CEV and NRSV, I'm not sure what those are, doesn't matter, making this potentially the only mention of small cats in the Protestant Bible. And I thought it was pretty weird. And in a previous video, I had mentioned, I think it was the one where I talked about what is enlightenment. And I kind of go on about Jesus' enlightenment and how it seems like it was omitted from the Bible for a reason. And I think it's going to seem weird that I even say this, but I think cats were omitted from the Bible on purpose as well. And I'm about to get into why, but you can see all these other animals being mentioned, camels, calves, that's just the C's. Like it seems like everything else under the sun is named except for cats. And I found it very, very strange. And what got me thinking about this is that I watched that guy I've talked about before. His name is I Hate Dogs. He has a very interesting commentary on dog culture. And watching his video made me think about the sort of cat utopia. I think it's an island in Japan. I don't think the whole island is populated by cats, but there's like a small section of Japan where it's considered a cat island. And it's very peaceful, very serene. Just look it up on YouTube, you'll see it. Maybe I'll look it up in this little presentation. I'll go ahead and look it up in a moment. But it's very peaceful, very serene. The cats are very friendly. They like humans, and it just seems peaceful. And I know it's probably not like that all the time. Any cat owners out there, you already know what it's like when you get multiple cats in a situation. But anyway, that's not the point. So I stumbled on an article talking about this little website I found where it kind of talks about it in an article. Why are there no cats in the Bible? Of the hundreds of different animals named in the Bible, the cat lovers among us might be disturbed to find that there is no mention of their beloved companion house guest in the Bible. Were there no cats in the biblical Israel? Confidently identifying the presence of domestic cat rather than its wild, untamed cousins in any ancient setting is difficult. The process of domestication for most animals creates certain stresses that result in the morphological changes. For example, there is often a reduction in size. Consequently, identifying changes like these can make it possible to distinguish between domestic and wild strains. However, cats tend, at least initially, to lack such clear markers of domestication. One reason for this might be due to their rather aloof demeanor that often characterizes their relationship with humans. Borowski argues that this meant that humans could not so easily control their breeding as they could have other animals. The process of domestication could therefore have emerged from the development of negotiated, collaborated, symbiotic relationship between cats and humans rather than selective breeding. Which I personally, just to intervene, I believe that is the case. Only because another thing that got me thinking about this, I've always known this little tidbit about cats where sailors in England, all kinds of sailors would take cats on their boats in order to protect their grain storage and their food storage from vermin, snakes, rodents, whatever may have you, roaches. Cats hunt everything. Small cats are very good hunters. And so humans and cats have always gotten along in that manner. There's like this article states, it's like a symbiotic relationship. And another folk tale is that cats would protect grain storage and grain silos in England and America and all that good stuff. So it's always been this very odd relationship between cats and humans. Me personally, I believe that cats were a big reason why we survived as a species up until the modern day. But that's just the way I feel about it. A lot of people feel that way about dogs, and I don't feel that way about dogs at all. I'm not going to really get into that. It's not important. I'm talking about cats now. But to me, cats have been a very important part of human history and their survival on a physical level and a spiritual, metaphysical level. And we'll get into that in a minute. Reading on, this general lack of evidence for a human-controlled breeding regime creates problems when trying to identify between domestic and wild cats. Current thinking suggests that feline domestication, or the formula relationship between humans and felines, occurred roughly 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, although a recent study by Andrew blah 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 is the apparent burial of a cat with its owner in Cyprus has pushed back that date to about 9,000 years, period. I read that wrong, sorry. Nevertheless, whether wild or domesticated, zooarchaeological evidence shows that cats were living in the ancient Levant? At the time of biblical Israel. For example, remains of cats were found during excavations of Neolithic Jericho, 7000 BCE. If cats were present in the biblical Israel, then why is there this silence about them in biblical writings? And we got some mummified cat urns, I guess. I'm not sure what these are. The lack of feline representation in Israelite literature is even more striking when one looks to Israel's near neighbor Egypt. Here, the sheer volume of artifacts relating to or featuring cats attests to their social and religious importance. Cats are featured in statuary, papyri, funerary art, and paintings. In fact, so many thousands of cats were mummified that in the late 19th century they were being exported to the UK to be ground for archaeological fertilizer. Wow, that's interesting. Clutton Brock observes that a cat's skull exhibited in the British Museum was the sole survivor of a single shipment of mummified cats that weighed 19 tons. And there's a coffer, I guess, for a mummified cat. A recent article in the Journal of Archaeological Science argues that the cultural control of cats in Egypt can be dated to the 4th millennium BCE. Borowski notes that by the time of the New Kingdom, the number of pieces of art and objects featuring cats became overwhelming. So I've already read this ahead of time and kind of formed an opinion about it. It almost seems as if cats just appeared out of nowhere, like domestic cats, like small domestic cats, like the spiritual cat animal suddenly appeared from the sky, like just out of the blue. And when I was studying art, just to go off a tiny bit of a tangent, when I was studying art, I used to study skulls, like human skulls, cat skulls, dog skulls, horse skulls. I was really into drawing horses, so I studied horse skulls a whole lot, because you can learn a lot the way the features are placed and how to draw an animal by studying its skull and its skeleton and all that, and knowing how the skeleton balances and all that, and how the gait of a horse moves so you can pose them properly and all that good stuff. And cat skulls were always the oddity of the bunch, because after studying so many animals, it's like cats seem the most alien-like to me. And I'm already implying a lot of things by saying that, and I'm just going to flat out say it, that they're not. I really don't think they're of this realm, like, period. They're so strange in many ways, physically, physiologically, their movements, the way they act. It's just strange, the relationship we have with them. And like I said, it just feels like they just appeared out of nowhere. And this last sentence here, the number of pieces of art and objects featuring cats becomes overwhelming, because it was just that nutty for these Egyptians. Reading on, cats were particularly suited to the ecology of Egypt and were ideally placed to become an invaluable resource for those working the land. The fertile food plains besides the Nile produced abundant harvests, making Egypt very wealthy as the breadbasket of the world. I didn't know it was called that. But anyway, grain silos attracted rats, mice, and snakes, which uncontrolled threatened local and national economies. Although the first intersections between people and their ancestors of the domestic cats were probably for the exploitation of their meat and their pelts. The prowess of the cat provided much needed resource to the harassed farmers and administrations. So basically, I mean, they're implying here that cats were used for food and clothing, I guess. But I don't see, I know some places in China and Asian countries do that, and that's fine, that don't bother me. But you can't really get a lot of meat out of cats, just to be honest. But it's whatever. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. This is all speculation anyway, right? In the manner of farmers today, including a couple of my nearby neighbors and their use of feral cats, it would therefore be not at all surprising if they encouraged the semi-socialized cats to remain on site as unofficial security guards. It has also been suggested that the cat's seemingly natural hostility to snakes may have been the initial reason for the domestication socialization of Egypt. We're gonna get to that in a moment. It's very interesting. Certainly, this association can be seen to be expressed within some of its religious narratives. It is in the form of the cat Mau. I think it's Mau? Yeah, it's Mau. I'm just going to keep saying Mau. It's supposed to sound like meow. Meow. That great sun god. Let me start over. It is the form of the cat Mau that the great sun god Ra battles and defeats Apep. Apep, the monstrous snake who is the god of evil and chaos in the 7th chapter of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And this is the thing I was getting to. It's very important, this right here. I am the cat Mau who fought hard by the Persea tree in Anu on the night when the foes of Nebuchadnezzar, the form of Osiris, were destroyed. The male cat is Ra himself, and he's called Mau because of these words of the god Sa, who said about him, "Who is like Mau unto him?" And thus his name became Mau. So Mau the cat, the literal physical manifestation of the god Ra, who basically fought along a tree. The tree was his home, I believe. We'll get into that in a moment. Cats also became associated with other divine figures, perhaps the best known for was the goddess Bast, or Bastet. The use of animals, particularly cats, as votive gifts helps to explain the number of mummified animals we find. It is also suggestive of an emotional attachment that the Egyptians had with this creature. The Egyptians' love for their cats is well known as the ancient historians, although we need to treat their accounts with a certain amount of caution. Herodotus describes the funerary processes including embalmation. Following the natural death of the cat, dogs lovers will be pleased to note that the canines were also included. Okay, therefore they were legally protected. And I don't think it's nothing much interesting. The big point right here. So the big point right here. It is in the form of the cat Mau that the great sun god Ra battles and defeats Apep. So Mau was the avatar of the sun god Ra. And you already know what the sun represents. At least y'all should. We'll switch articles here. Mau, Ra, and Apep. Mau the great cat. Kind of look like Anubis on the top left there. Discover the legends and myths of the religious beliefs surrounding Mau, believed to be the personification of the sun god Ra. In the form of a cat, Mau is strongly associated with the ancient Egyptian mythology regarding the great cat of Ra who dwells in Heliopolis. And they always tell us we live in a heliocentric solar system. The implications there are vast. And killed the monstrous serpent deity Apep, the Egyptian god of evil. Mau was the cat that protected the Persea tree, identified with the Egyptian tree of life. The battle between Ra as the cat Mau was ultimately the story about good prevailing over evil. And so it says here that Mau was the great protector of the Persean tree. I think it's called Persea. So Mau the great cat, the son of Ra, or the personification of Ra, the sun god. So Mau basically was a guardian. Just to give you this too long didn't read version of this, and this actually harkens back to a little bit where I spoke about. I made a video here where I'd watched this TikToker who made a video about a tree. It was a giant cat tree. Those things looks at least about 6 feet, 7 feet tall. And as I was watching it, it was just like a TikTok short or whatever they're called. And as I was watching it, I thought to myself, the sun cat is going to be up the top. And this was like a month ago, I think. Not really understanding what I was saying. I'm just going to play it. Let me turn it down. Is it your tree of life, man? So I made a joke, right? And there's your sun cat. There's your sun cat. There it is. And I didn't know this. Like, I did not know this ahead of time when I made this video. I was just thinking to myself, watching this TikTok, thinking there's going to be a sun cat at the top. And of course, because why wouldn't there be? Just absolutely craziness. So the heavy implications here, guys, is that what I've been speculating for the past like year and a half, or the past year, is that cats are the guardians of this metaphysical existence, of this physical and metaphysical existence. Let's look at Google Images. So you have Mal and Ra, Mal versus Ra. It's kind of goofy looking, but y'all know how cats are. This right here in particular is very striking. I mean, come on, man. I've talked about the halo imagery before that a lot of movies do. I made a video about it maybe like over a year ago, where I talked about the creepy actor assholes and their obsession with the halo imagery, like Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is like a kind of a heliocentric thing. It's a circle. And just stuff like this. It's like absolutely nuts. Alright guys, I almost forgot that I wanted to go over the Japanese cat island thing, so let's go ahead and look at that really quick. I'm going to keep the volume kind of low.
We were headed to an island labeled up. Here, cats outnumber humans more than 10 to 1. This tiny fishing village once had a population of 800 people, but the
Let's turn up the resolution.
Sardine fisheries depleted, jobs moved to cities, and human residents left the island. Now there are just 16 people here, and more than 160 cats. It's an adjustment for visiting reporters. Misato Kamioka is not exactly the official historian, but she's lived here for nearly 40 years.
How did this become an island of cats?
There used to be a lot of mice and not many cats, she remembered. Some cats were let loose, others were abandoned. And the rest, as they say, is history.
I suspect you've got your mice population under control now.
No mice problem, she said. There's a sort of predictable rhythm on Cat Island.
Oh, here we go.
A dispute or two, some eating, some sleeping.
It's like what I said earlier, when you get cats, kind of get cats together, they tend to act like that. So it's not all peace and quiet, right?
45 minutes of bliss for all involved.
But
we asked school lunch lady Tomi Goto why the Japanese love cats so much.
this is very interesting.
Cats do as they please, but we can't do that, she said, referring to her regimented life. Cats go where they want and snooze when they feel like it. So leaving my work to see them is very relaxing.
This was another cat island.
We were shown pictures of other cat islands.
So you've been to 3 cat islands and you've been to 2 cat islands?
Yep, there are about 10 across the country. In Japan, cats are featured on TV shows, and of course, this is the land where Hello Kitty was born. We heard about another must-see stop for the cat-crazed in Japan, and we went to meet the cat station master. Tama II and predecessor Tama are credited with saving this rail station with a cat-like look in rural western Japan. Ridership had shrunk and the train line was in the red until a railway boss, quote, looked into the eyes of a cat at a local concession stand and decided to make it the station master. It's an honorary title. The only work involved is looking cute and attracting
The cat is
tourists,
very well behaved,
but it's
golly.
work. Back on Cat Island, these felines have left their mark. On the jetty, it's not beer cans, but cans of tuna scattered about. Even the humans can be seen sneaking a cat nap. We met Ruji Hidaka on the ferry. He'd come alone, but then connected with a fellow cat lover. He told us this was paradise and said he'd like to return.
It's not enough to just see it once?
No, it's not enough, he replied. I would like to live here. I smiled and tried to withhold judgment. This place is not everyone's definition of paradise. As the afternoon ferry pulled out, people waved to the cats.
These cats really like humans, golly.
One-sided goodbye. Japan has a...
And I'm sure there's cats in the shadows, right? They kind of stray away from humans. It's bound to happen. Oh, look, did you see that? Wow, did you see the... I knew something bananas would happen.
But we'll save that for another story.
Oh my god. There's your, there's Mao, the avatar of the sun. The avatar of the sun god, Ra. The avatar of Ra, dude, there he is. Isn't that amazing? There's even a little sun there. Anyway, guys, that's it. I hope y'all found this interesting. I know I have. Y'all have a great day.